Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nintendo Pipeline Podcast. I'm your host for this week, Mina, and joining me today we got...
I'm Jared, also known as One Up Muffin on the Nintendo Era Discord.
And
I'm CMM. You can call me Clay.
Alrighty. Hi, Jared and Clay. How are you doing?
Hello.
I am doing great. Ready to have an indie-tastic day.
God.
Yeah, so today we're talking about Indie World. Nintendo did an Indie World presentation, announced out of the blue, as they love to do. Showed up the next day, and this was a pretty good one overall, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot to they had a lot to talk about, and so what we've decided to do, with indie games, it's hard to talk about like every little announcement, right? So what we decided to do, we're going to talk about 3 games each that we picked out that we just really were passionate about, But if you haven't already, I would recommend watching the presentation. It was a great little show,
Mm-hmm. It really was.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here to talk about some specific games here, So I'm gonna start with Jared. Because you have the game that opened the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to get into that, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. This is the game that opened the show. What do you think about it? What stood out to you?
Yeah, this game looks fantastic. The thing everyone will say immediately is Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio, and I played a little bit of those games, not as much as I'd like to. I gotta go back and beat those, but a lot of cell shading, a lot of graffiti, a lot of skateboarding. I'm not sure if there are rollerblades in this one. There's probably some rollerblades, but in that vein of game, it looks really fun. I'll definitely be getting this one.
And one of the composers on the game is the same composer as Jet Set Radio, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. So it has a really cool electronic soundtrack.
Yeah, and though they did say there's like a lot of collaborations with the soundtrack, but one of them is Hideki Naganuma.
That's so cool.
And this was a really smart pickup for me. Like this was a game. It was a really great opener, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
this was getting a lot of traction online already before it was announced for Switch, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, there's a thirst for Jet Set Radio to come back, and so this game was getting a lot of hype, and so for Nintendo to reach out to these guys and have this be the opener, I thought that was just really smart.
Yeah, it looks really high quality for what it's worth too. Like it visually looks like Jet Grind. It looks like Jet Set. It doesn't look like a cheap ripoff of those. It looks like really good.
No, it's strongly invoking those games, but in a way that doesn't feel like, oh, you're just a knockoff, or especially you're just a cheap knockoff,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
This looks quality. This looks good. Yeah. I'm excited for this. And it's launching next year. It's console exclusive to Switch, so that's pretty.
Yeah,
good.
so it's gonna launch on Steam and Switch, and then come to other stuff later.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're like, even though it has like skateboarding, it's not like a skateboarding game. It's more of like what'd you say, action adventure platformer type game.
They
That's
call
kinda
it
what
a
they are.
graffiti action adventure grind.
That makes sense.
That's right.
So like, imagine like Tony Hawk mixed with like an action adventure game, very arcadey like style grinding and spraying walls. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm curious how, I know God forbid I bring this up, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how it will compare to Hive. Is that what it was called? Hive? Hover?
Which one
Maybe
was
it was
that?
Hover.
Oh,
It was
Hover.
Yeah.
Hover. Yeah, that's right.
I didn't play that.
Yeah. I heard kind of mediocre things.
Was that one only multiplayer?
I still don't really know what is like.
I think it
the
was. Yeah, I
benefit
think it was only multiplayer. That one definitely. See, that one to me though, like admittedly, like when I saw that, like to me that did invoke very much like, oh, this looks like kind of
Yeah.
cheap,
Mhm.
right? And so
Yeah.
immediately, just first impression on this one does look better. Of course, who knows till we
Yeah.
get the game in our hands, right?
Yeah.
But I'm optimistic
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
When I saw
I'm
this, I had to
hopeful.
Google. I was like, wait, this isn't the multiplayer only one, right?
Yeah. No. So yeah, this is a single player game. Clay, I know you've talked. I feel like this would be up your alley as well, right? Like big time.
Yeah, it's interesting. Jet Grind and Jet Set Radio are kind of blind spots for me.
Okay.
Like I have one of them, and that should tell you enough that I can't remember which one I have.
I mean, the
Yeah.
titles are so similar; it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
them
Yeah,
apart.
it's hard
But,
to like be like, oh, this one's this.
I haven't gotten around to really to really playing them much.
Yeah. Same.
So, you know, if I had, I'd probably be much more like stoked about this. I think it looks cool as hell. And I would like to play it. But yeah, it's just kind of a blind spot for me right now.
Fair. I mean, I have never played a Jet anything. So I talk about blind spots. Yeah, I haven't. But already this looked really cool to me, and I'm definitely willing to try this one out. I'm into this. So yeah, the Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Next year is a little far off, but understandable, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Clay, you saw this little game called Toem.
Yes.
What made you pick it?
It's very neat. There's been a lot of like photo games lately, just like, or at least games that involve taking pictures as a central mechanic. It's got a really neat look to it. Apparently, also hand drawn. It's a simplistic black and white kind of look. Charming though, I think. What is neat is like it's kind of like the areas are like these. They kind of look like dioramas to me. They're like, I mean, they're not like. It's more of like if you were to look at a map in like Final Fantasy Tactics, but like extremely simplify it into like a tiny area. Like it's an isometric-ish kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it. Basically, there's these little hubs, and you talk to people, and instead of just like, like something like Pokemon Snap, where you're like on a safari or whatever, and you're taking pictures of Pokemon, like in the wildlife, this one is more like you're taking pictures to solve quests and help people. So like someone might ask you to take a picture of this weird dude who's been like kind of hanging around, and like he's there somewhere in the area that you're in. And when you switch to the camera perspective, which is neat because it's kind of like it's a tiny photo, so it's like a Polaroid, basically Polaroid size. It's not like a full screen picture. So you kind of you look at the area that you're in, but from a first person's perspective through the camera and take pictures. And so it's kind of like an objective based thing. And I mean, you can take them for fun too, but it's just a weird little game that's like very much like, I don't know. I just think it's really neat. I think it's a nice twist on, some of the photo games that we've seen recently.
Yeah. Did you mention it's top down and then you go to first person?
It's not exactly. It's like.
Oh, is it not fully top down?
Is
it like isometric?
It's kind of, it's kind of, I don't really know how to describe the perspective because I'm bad at that, but But
you definitely change perspective when you're actually like taking pictures, right?
Yeah.
Like you go into a more first person view.
Yeah.
Which
you were saying diorama, which I think is pretty spot on.
Yeah, it looks like each like area is kind of a little diorama. If you've seen Button City, which has like different areas of that game's world, or they're on layers, and each layer is like a little diorama pretty much. That's the perspective of this game.
Yeah. And the people are flat, right? Like Paper Mario style.
Yeah, they're like weird flat. It's all black and white. It's very like simple.
It's very cool looking.
Yeah, it's very neat. And the perspective switch for going into camera mode, I think, makes it really interesting because you're looking at these areas that you normally see as at a certain specific angle. And it's kind of like recontextualizing that. But yeah, no, I think it looks really neat. And it's just because, and I guess it's inspired by Scandinavia. So
they mentioned that it was inspired by Scandinavian landscapes, which is pretty cool. And that's one of those things I really like about the Indie World presentations in particular is there's this concentrated effort to like highlight developers from around the world.
Yes.
Right? And so this is one of those, it's cool to have a game that's inspired by the Scandinavian countryside. That's just a really neat inspiration that I feel like you don't see too often, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's coming this fall.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've seen like I feel like we joked. I feel like at E3 when there was just 10 billion presentations, and one of the recurring themes was like Pokemon Snap type of games, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is definitely one of the ones that has caught my eye. Of this looks pretty.
Yeah,
this one definitely stood out.
Yeah, it stands out. Even compared, not that I don't want to say like, a
not
bunch
to
of
degrade the
photo
other
games.
ones. No.
Yeah.
And
It's
I don't
like-
want to say there's like a glut of photo games either, because I think it's a
Yeah.
great way to have like
Yeah, I
that
think
first-person shooter style without violence. It's a great,
Yeah.
it's a great thing. That more people should use it.
I think it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I don't want to be one of those people who's like, yes, the photo the photo taking subgenre or whatever. Just I think it's cool, and it stands out from the others.
FPP,
for sure.
first-person photo.
We're trademarking that new genre name right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my first game is the game that closed the presentation, and that's Eastward.
Yes,
Mhm.
a lot of people excited for this one.
Yeah. So this seems to be like I don't describe it like, I mean, it's an RPG, right? It's an action adventure RPG.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fair to say, but it gives me strong like Earthbound-esque vibes.
Mm.
You know,
I
maybe
could
not
see
in
it.
gameplay, but just like the vibe of the world. You know.
Yeah, it's a little quirky and a little weird.
Yeah, and it's this like post-apocalyptic world, but it's gorgeous sprite work. The music in the trailer was just really emotional, you know, in a way that was like, oh man, like I don't even know anything that's going on, but like just the music makes me feel something, you know.
Yeah.
It just has this very cute style. It looks to be huge. Weirdly enough, the developers did an interview and they said this game is going to be like 30 hours long, more or less.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, which I was like, I mean, that's a meaty game.
Mhm.
And this is one of those games that really had caught my eye already when we saw it in an indie world. I think sometime last year or maybe even the year before. It's been a bit since we last saw
Yeah, it
this.
has been a bit. I forgot about it.
Yeah. But now it's coming out next month, September.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indie RPGs are one of those things where it's like, I'm always down for 30 hours seems like a lot, but to be fair, for an RPG, that's not that much, right?
Is it an RPG or is it more like a Zelda-like type game?
It is. I guess it is more like Zelda-like. Yeah. I'm only calling it RPG. They call it an action RPG, like
Okay,
themselves.
yeah. So there's probably
right?
leveling up in stats and stuff.
Yeah.
Before
but-
this trailer, I had only known the pixel art. Like for the 1st half of the trailer, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this game, but what is it?" And then they showed
What is
gameplay.
it? Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think the game, the little trailer they showed, shows quite a bit of it, right? And there's a lot of like little things here and there, like there's cooking. Love a good cooking minigame,
Mhm,
right?
always.
Yeah.
And there's more
Um,
gameplay online that I didn't watch yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had not seen the extra
Yeah, I
gameplay
think
yet.
maybe it was like IGN did like 25 minutes. I think it was this one.
Oh wow! Yeah,
Hopefully I have that
right. But it's. I mean, the really the thing that's striking to me is the pixel art. Like
Mhm.
it is just so like those. I don't know if you like the environments are so detailed and so pretty.
Yeah.
And they're inspired by like the clearly like the aesthetic is very like East Asia.
Yeah. I mean, fitting,
wait.
right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Eastward, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm really excited for this game. I think action RPGs that are like pixel art. I feel like they're not that common, right? Like when you think of an RPG, pixel art RPG, generally you think of turn-based stuff, right? But having like an action-based, more like I guess honestly, the comparison just came to me, almost more like Mana, like Secret of Mana type
Yeah.
of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm super into this. I'm excited
Yeah.
for it. And it's
I
a
definitely
month
want to keep an eye on this one.
now.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was out a lot sooner than I expected it to.
Right, I was not
Yeah.
expecting it to show up, and that'll be a theme throughout this presentation. We'll get to that at the end, but
Mhm.
a lot of things coming out a lot sooner than you thought they would. Jared,
Uh-huh.
you picked another game that is coming out. It's a little bit further off, but it came out earlier this year. Loop Hero on PC, right? Got a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
It was big on Twitch for a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I think this one is actually a really good follow-up from Eastward because they both have beautiful pixel art. This one's a lot
Yeah.
darker. It's very gritty, dark fantasy. This game is so weird. It's hard to describe the genre. It is a mix of RPG, deck builder, tile laying, and has some idle elements. So if any of those sound potentially interesting, go watch a video. It'll make more sense. But you watch a little dude go around in a circle, and you give him like armor and lay tiles down to increase your person's power. But it's a really cool game, and I think the Switch is a great system for it, because sometimes you just want to do a few runs, and then let's do a few loops, close the Switch, and open it back up later. It's a great pick up and play title like that.
I mean, the second I saw this game go like kind of big, I was like, "This is perfect for Switch." You know,
Definitely.
It just immediately right off the bat. I always like games that put a twist on. You're not playing as the hero, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're playing as the person crafting the world, which is a really weird twist on that, right? Like I've seen all sorts of twists, like you're playing as a shopkeeper or whatever, but like you're the person laying the ground out. That's really an interesting one.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is that there's some like combinations of tiles. Like you'll put like, if you put like 6 rock tiles in a formation, it'll form a mountain, which is cool. I don't want to spoil the other ones. There's not as many as I'd like, but there are some other cool combos like that.
It is technically then a god game, I guess.
I suppose. Yeah.
Thanks, that.
I never so I've heard of this game, and I didn't know anything about it. And based on the name, the first thing I naturally thought of was like Guitar Hero. So you're definitely not what I thought it was gonna be.
Not that, yeah. See, you focus on the wrong part of the name. The loop is the more important part.
Yeah, apparently.
You're a hero of the loop.
Yeah.
Because you're the only person in the loop that can remember they're in a loop, so that's why they can learn from it and get better.
Oh god, that makes my brain hurt.
I roguelikes have would you call it a roguelike? Right, you would, right?
What was it?
At least has some elements. It seems.
Roguelike kind of games, like loop-based games, they're always a great fit for the Switch in particular, right?
Because it's very upgradey based too. So if you like upgrade trees, you'll be at home here.
Yeah. I've been interested in this game for a while. I'm very happy to see this getting a console release specifically on the Switch.
Yeah,
right?
It's the right place to play it.
Yeah, for sure. Clay, I got another game from you, Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. Tell me about this.
So I'm so excited that they finally showed this again today. I played this at PAX last year, and it is a very neat game. And it doesn't, when you're watching the footage of it, at least for me, when I watched the footage of it initially, I didn't really totally understand how it played exactly. But playing it's amazing. So like, basically, it's a roguelike game on a puzzle field, essentially. Like the puzzle field is basically your dungeon, hence the name. And so every time you move, everything else moves. So like, it's I don't want to say it's turn-based, but basically, yeah, like if you like attack an enemy, then everything that can move on the screen will also move at the same time. You have a limited amount of health, so you want to strategically take out enemies, because generally when you attack an enemy, it'll attack you back, and so you have to kind of balance that with like opening chests and collecting health and loot and stuff, and you eventually like come to bosses, like you get keys. It's kind of a lot. And you can put together like big attacks, because the more puzzly element comes from if you attack an enemy that is like the same type, and you attack it, like the entire group of enemies gets attacked. So that's kind of like almost like the the block busting element of this. It's a very neat game, and all the characters that you play as have their own powers, and I am glad to see that they're doing a local multiplayer as well. I wish it had online, because I think this would be a blast to play online with people. It's just very fast and furious and chaotic, and like you don't necessarily always consider all of the consequences of your actions before you take them. Like,
yeah.
In multiplayer,
yeah,
when either person takes a move,
see, that I don't know. Right? That I don't know how it works in local. I played it in single player, But yeah, I imagine in local either it's I personally I'm guessing it'll probably just be like things will move at your own pace on your Pocket Dungeon, but
Yeah.
like what you do will impact the other person.
Oh, it's multiple screens. I didn't realize.
Yeah. It's like a split screen
Mm. I'll have to
game.
rewatch the trailer later.
Yeah, and it's out this winter. And I just think it's a very charming take on a very weird, charming alternate take on Shovel Knight because it uses like the world and the motif and everything. So like it's kind of like you're playing through the Shovel Knight story, but in a puzzle game that's also a roguelike. It gets very weird. It's
Yeah,
one of those
it's-
games that's like Wario's Woods, where like you are a character on the puzzle field as opposed to like
Rather than just controlling the blocks
You're
or
right.
whatever, what have
yeah,
you. Yeah.
exactly. It's a really neat game. I hope people try it out. It's definitely like intimidating at first, and it's confusing at first, but like you figure it out pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I love the idea of Shovel Knight like going into these weird like spin-offs, you know?
Yeah,
Because Shovel Knight is a great, fantastic game and a fantastic world that they've built over the course of like more
Mhm.
expansions or whatever, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
And there's just a lot to pull from. So exploring that with different types of games, partnering with other indie companies, and that's the other thing I like too, right? Is Yacht Club
Yeah.
kind of partnering with studios that are not as big, because now Yacht Club is a big name in the indie scene, right?
Yeah.
But so they can reach out to other developers and say, hey, you want to you have an idea for this Shovel Knight game, and it raises the name of these other indie studios too. I think that's just really cool as well.
yeah. I
Um,
agree.
Yeah.
And that's
This is. Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say this is not the only Shovel Knight like
No,
spin-off
yeah.
they have coming. Shovel Knight Dig is another, and that's by Nitrome, which who knows when we'll see that again, but that one was fun too when I played it.
Mhm. Well, on the topic of Pocket, this is probably one of my highlights of the show. I love puzzle games, and I really like the old school style of roguelike, and I think it's awesome to merge those two. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever played any like more like traditional roguelikes where like those games are you move, the enemies move equal amount of spaces and stuff.
yeah,
Like, I mean, Cadence of Hyrule is similar to that as well. It's like another twist on the classic roguelike, and it's really cool to see more twists than that. So I'm
it's-
super excited for this game.
as someone who generally does not like those kinds of games, like I enjoyed Cadence and I enjoyed Pocket Dungeon, so I'm happy to see more twists on that.
Yeah, it did give me like, because I don't know much about the genre, like the classic style, but like so my brain did go to Cadence. I was like, this reminds me a little bit of Cadence of Hyrule. or
Cadence
something like
is a
that.
pretty much traditional roguelike.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
It's
yeah.
very much like one.
Yeah, and so I had that familiarity with that, so I was like, oh, this is cool to see another game in that kind of style. Because I did like Cadence a lot, so
Yeah.
I'm down to try this out for sure.
Yeah,
And I like
and
Shovel
like
Knight, so
and Pocket Dungeon, I almost said Pocket Camp. Pocket Dungeon, you get like other roguelikes, like you will get like buffs mid match that like might boost your damage or give you a shield or something of that nature. So there's all kinds of crazy elements going on all at once, and it's contained in this small single screen grid.
yeah, a lot going on in that little tiny bit of area
Yeah.
playing field you got, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, alright, so that's Shovel Knight Pocket Dungeon. Hopefully it hits the day. Shovel Knight games do have a tendency for delays.
Yeah, this one's been delayed as it is.
Yeah. So,
But
whenever Yacht Club puts a generic, like, winter or whatever, I'm like, maybe. We'll
Maybe,
see. But fingers crossed. But of course, we want them to take all the time they need. Alright, my next game, I guess on a similar note, Metal Slug Tactics.
Yes.
So this game got announced at Jeff Keighley's show around E3 a couple of months back.
Yep.
And it was announced for PC only, so that was a little upsetting, right? Because I saw that game and I was like, I want this on Switch, and lo and behold, it's coming to Switch.
Yep, here it is.
Yeah. So hopefully it should be day and date. Coming out 2022, just like the PC release. I I'm not a Metal Slug fan. Like I've never played Metal Slug, but I've always appreciated like the art style and the music of Metal Slug.
You've
right?
never played Metal Slug?
I've
Wow.
never played Metal Slug. I
Wow.
need to. I know. I will. I should.
There was a
rectify
there was
that.
a Wii collection.
I never got around to it, but maybe I will. Maybe I will now.
Mina does Metal Slug coming soon.
Yeah, coming soon. Yeah. But yeah, like I mean, I love tactics games. Final Fantasy Tactics is one of my favorite games. I also really loved on the Switch. What is it called? God, I don't remember the name. It's really
Wargroove?
popular. The little tactics game that's like roguelite kind of game.
Into the Breach?
Into the Breach. There we go.
Fantastic game.
Yeah, I love Into the Breach. I think
Yeah,
that's
so
a
good.
really great game, right? And so I love tactics games like this. Seems to be a different take on it compared to that, but still, I mean, more than anything, again, man, the pixel art in this game looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, this is. I saw this game and I was like, this is perfect for Switch. So I'm just happy this is coming. You know, I'm really, really happy that it's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. So I'm not really into tactics games myself, but with it being Metal Slug, that's raised an eyebrow. So I've been keeping an eye on it. Today they showed the sync thing, which I'm still not entirely sure how that works, but it seems to be based on how you move your units around. They can do like multiple attacks basically in one turn.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah. I mean, I do like you're controlling these familiar Metal Slug characters, right? And
Yeah.
So, like, you have a nice little team like Marco and Aerie, Theo, and so this is it has an established cast of characters that'll be fun to see them in like a kind of very different light, I guess, for Metal Slug, right?
Yeah.
I'm super excited for this game. Coming out next year, though. So far, it
Yeah.
feels so far off.
And-
I'm looking forward to this one. I don't know if it's a must buy for me, but I'm definitely going to keep a tab on it.
They didn't mention it today, but they did mention it when the original trailer came out. For anyone who isn't aware, but T Lopes is doing music for this, so
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
So the music's gonna be great. 'Cause-
yeah.
And also,
I'm
like,
stoked.
they're just the publisher, but man, Emu, they have been
Yeah.
on a I when their name is attached to like a retro project,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
Wonder Boy and the Dragon Trap was great. Streets of Rage 4, which I just played
Yeah.
this week.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh
yes.
boy, we're gonna have
We'll
to
talk about after
we're gonna have
podcast,
to, yeah,
but-
we're gonna have to talk.
Yeah. But yeah, these are when I see Emu's name, I am like, I can trust that this is in the right hands.
Yeah.
Because they really just know who to call to get just these really wonderful takes on these classic franchises.
Yeah.
And
And speaking
yeah, I mean,
speaking
Kilos.
of them, this wasn't in the thing today, but it is relevant because the game is an indie game and it is coming to Switch. I guess it's technically an indie game, but just a side note for anyone who is interested in Windjammers, Windjammers 2 as of right now is in an open beta on PC, PS4, and PS5. That game will be coming to Switch as well. I was kind of surprised that it wasn't featured today. Yeah, game is fantastic. Give it a go. That's my plug for today.
that was also in an indie thing, Nintendo's like indie
Yeah.
world presentation at one point or another, right? Like a while ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's
Cool, that's finally
game
coming
is so
out.
smooth. I played that at PAX as well a few years ago, and it was very excellent. If you've played the original, you'll feel right at home with this one. But it's great.
Awesome.
That's my bonus.
Well-
That's the bonus game.
The bonus game. Now we have one final round of games. I'm gonna go first this time because
Yep.
the two of you share something in common that I want to talk about. But so my last game is Tetris Effect Connected.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a game. Tetris Effect came out years ago now. I think 2018, right?
Yes.
And
that's
last
right.
year for the Xbox, there was an enhanced version, upgraded version of Tetris Effect called Tetris Effect Connected. Like it added like multiplayer stuff, like a cooperative connected mode. And if you don't know what Tetris Effect is, it is a Tetris game, but it is this like, how would you describe it? It's like this audio visual experience.
Tetris mixed with Luminous, if you play
Yeah.
Luminous. So of every level has like a different music track, and your pieces sync to the beat. And whenever you plop a piece down, something visual happens in the background. It's really cool.
And Enhance, the studio behind this, is the the creator of Luminous and other similar audiovisual experiences.
Yeah, so there's definitely the lineage there, right, from like Mizuguchi, and but Tetris Effect is a game. Again, that's another game that I've wanted on Switch for a while now, right?
Same.
Like it is a game that I've just wanted to see for so long on my little handheld. It's launching October 8th, same day as Metroid and the OLED screen.
God, big day.
Yeah, big day. This will be a great way to kick in my new OLED,
It's a beautiful game. I played it on both PSVR and Series X, and it's a blast. I love Tetris, and I love the music in this.
I know we talked in our OLED episode about some of the features of the OLED, and like one of the ones that we were kind of like, did anyone really complain about this, was the audio. And as soon as I saw this game today, I was like, oh, yes.
Oh my god, this is what the OLED is for, The OLED screen and the premium speakers, this was made for the OLED. Yeah.
I actually like audibly gasped when this showed up because I'd given up hope.
Yeah, it's been so long, right? But I guess when you think about it, it does make sense because Tetris Effect Connected did just come out last year, right?
Yeah.
And the exclusivity period for the Xbox of that specific version only ran out recently, right? So it's not that far off from Connected, at least, in a way that makes sense. So, but yeah, I was not expecting to see this. So, and this is something both me and Clint talked about wanting for so long.
God, yeah. And it's cross-platform multiplayer.
Yes, cross-platform multiplayer. That is, so that's just a way to make. That's always a great addition, right?
So
that's really good because the multiplayer wasn't that active last time I checked it out.
But see, now adding a whole new platform,
should really revitalize it.
Yeah, especially a platform as popular as
and
the Switch,
there's like a raid mode too, which I have not tried, where it's like 3 players versus one really hard computer.
Yeah, I've seen that. There's some weird stuff going on there. There's the NES Tetris mode. There's like all kinds of weird stuff.
But yeah, that's coming out October. October, busy month for the Switch.
Yeah, my next question is gonna be, is there a hard copy? Because I want.
Is there? That. Yeah, gotta have that physical copy.
I would imagine. Like, if I had to guess, I hope so.
I would think
Surely.
so. The other versions have one. So
yeah, every other Tetris game on the Switch has a physical release, right? Including Tetris 99, which is a free game. So
yeah, but even just the other versions of Tetris Effect all do. So
yeah.
Oh sure, yeah. But it seems like a safe bet to come at some point. Finally, so your last 2 games, I wanted to talk about this real quick because, oh my goodness, there was 7 shadow drops.
Yeah.
In this presentation, 7.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, I wonder that's some kind of record for a Nintendo presentation because Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of cool games in that list, but we did want to highlight at least 2 of them. We haven't had a chance to play any of them, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
But these are the 2, I guess, I would say stuck out to the 3 of us the most. We'll go with Clay first. Boyfriend Dungeon came out today.
Oh man. I've been waiting for this for a bit. I've been following this one, and if I remember correctly, last time we had heard about it, it got delayed, and we weren't really sure when it was gonna happen. And then all of a sudden today, they're like, "Hey, guess what? Here it is." So it is a dungeon crawler, but your warriors are boyfriends because you have to date them and like build like affinity for them to make them like that. You get more like, you branch out their combat styles. It's basically a dating game, but like also like your date is your like character in the dungeon crawling aspect. It's a very weird mixture of genres. and so like right, so you play through the dating aspect and woo the characters, which are your weapons. They're like they're like people, but they turn into weapons in the dungeon. And then you get loot and stuff, from playing through the game like you normally would. And then you use that to like, do stuff for your boyfriends, like your boyfriend weapons. So it's like it kind of feeds into itself. It's a very unique, interesting game. I like the particularly the dating parts where you're having conversation. The artwork is very, very, very nice for those. And then the dungeon crawling part is a little bit like it's a different look, but the combat seems to have a decent amount of depth, and with all the different options for like weapons that you're dating and like the skill trees and stuff that come off them, it looks like it's pretty varied. So I'm looking forward to playing this one a lot.
Certainly a great idea. Very unique.
I love the idea of mixing a dating sim with like a dungeon crawler type of game, right? That's such a funny, like, out of nowhere. And I mean, like, your weapon, like, there's an infamous anime trope, like your weapon being a girl, right? Whatever.
Like Xenoblade.
Xenoblade, yeah.
I was gonna how long are we gonna get into this before Xenoblade comes?
Yeah. But this is a fun little inversion on that, right? And I do like, I appreciate a studio that's like straight up on the audio. If you go on Nintendo.com, the description of this page, it says one of the key points is inclusive, tasteful approach to gender and sexuality, male, female, and non-binary romance. I like a game that like is like, hey, we're doing a dating sim thing, but we're making it tasteful and we're making it inclusive. Because you don't do that too often, right?
Yeah.
So to get a game that puts it on its sleeve, like, hey, this is we're going for something here, but we're doing it in a way that is not like, I mean, I don't want to call out other games, but
yeah.
There's sometimes a lot of games can go a little further than I am comfortable with. But
you don't want to talk about Xenoblade at all.
Yeah.
It's nice for my weapons to not be waifus for once.
Right, yeah. This is, not, it doesn't always have to be waifus, But yeah, pretty cool game. And also this is a Nintendo podcast, but gotta call it out. If you have Game Pass, it's on there. So
yeah,
worth the shot there at least. Yeah, if you're too afraid,
give it a try, and then if you like it, buy it on Switch.
Exactly. That's what I plan on doing. And then Jared, you have one of the other Shadow Drops, and that was
Axiom Verge 2.
Yeah, Axiom Verge 2.
Yeah, this is a sequel to Axiom Verge 1, so believe it or not.
Wow.
So if you don't know what this is, it's a Metroidvania. It looks very much like a Metroid style game. This one, the twist is there's kind of two worlds. I guess you can switch between them at some point. One is 16-bit and one is 8-bit. So it's I like that kind of mechanic. I think other games have done 8-bit, 16-bit, but I think it looks really good here. And there's also some sort of crab robot, which is neat. You can control a little crab robot. But I played the first game and it was fun. I wish I would have beaten it, but I was playing it on the Vita and the controls there are terrible because there's not enough Vita buttons. So put some of the buttons on the touch screen or on the back touchpad. Is not good.
That's
weird.
I did not know that, but
I didn't know that either.
Axiom Verge 1, like, it strongly invoked like Metroid 1, right? Like it was clearly going for that. But I do, and that was cool, especially at a time where, I mean, hell, I think the guy who made Thomas Happ, I think he sort of said, like, hey, I noticed Nintendo wasn't making one, so I was just like, F it, I'm going to make my own, right? So, why not? We always, but then that game blew up, obviously, and now it's the sequel that is this huge, name, and it does feel like it's come out more on its own now, like, this feels way more distinct than Axiom Verge 1 did,
Yeah.
It doesn't just look like a Metroid clone anymore.
No.
It's not a bad thing.
Well, no, of course, that is absolutely not a bad thing, especially because, like I said, when it came out, there was not that many, right? And so, but now it's very much its own thing, and I just think that's really cool.
I think the really cool thing about Axiom Verge is that most Metroidvania clones, I think, are more on the Castlevania side with experience points
yeah,
and a lot of different weapons you get. Axiom Verge is definitely more on the Metroid side. I don't believe you level up at all. I think it's all upgrade based.
yeah, and yeah, that's something I actually wanted to point out. Yeah, 'cause like you said, like so many Metroidvanias, like specifically invoke more the Castlevania style, right? Or the Castlevania side of that. But
Mhm.
you know, you don't get that many games that are like, you know, gate progression solely through exploration, right? And I think Axiom Verge is one of those games that does try to invoke more of that, like specifically Metroid style of game. And so yeah, I'm super into that. I have not got around to playing the first one. I do want to play. I have it on many platforms.
I want to
actually.
finish it at some point. It's crossplay, so I also have it on PS4. So I'd rather play it on there than the Vita, so I can actually have those buttons.
So you get it. Yeah. I have it on Switch and PS4. I should play it at some point. But that's another one of those games. Like I think Eastward, Boyfriend Dungeon, and this game. These were all games that like we had heard of a while back, and they went quiet for quite some time, right? And then for these games to be out like either within a month or today.
I did not expect Axiom Verge 2 to shadow drop. If we didn't say that already, that is wild.
That is so wild. Here you go.
I kind of expected it because Tom kept saying it's coming sooner than you think. It's coming sooner than you think. And I'm like,
sure.
okay,
yeah.
All right. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a one-man dev team.
Wow.
I believe so, yes. At least the first game definitely was. I wouldn't be surprised.
I feel like for this one, he might have hired some people for like art or music. I feel like I heard that somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, because it's a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
I was saying this before we started, but I know for me, I'm kind of like, I generally am sort of like burnt out from like the whole like dual world mechanic, but I like the way that Axiom Verge 2 does it. I was actually reading, I think Tom had a thing on the PlayStation blog recently about the game, and the second world, it's basically like laid on top of the overworld. So basically like whatever coordinate you're at in the normal world, when you switch to the other world, which is completely different, you're at the same coordinate there. So
that makes sense.
He was saying it required a ton of like really careful planning, and I just think it's really neat. Yeah, it's just a really neat version of this. I think
I honestly love that mechanic. Not Nintendo at all, but like Titanfall 2 does that level where you switch between those two different levels at a push of a button. It takes a lot of work.
Such a mind-blowing level.
Yeah,
but like
put that on Switch.
Coordinating that like two separate worlds, but like they're so tied together. That I can't even imagine.
It must be so hard.
Yeah.
I'm pumped to play this game. I think it's only like $20. It's out now. I'm probably gonna get this soon.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I'm happy that it's out. And it looks great, and so far it's been getting good reviews. The few reviews I saw were like really positive. So hey, pretty neat game. Pretty awesome game to come out. Shadow dropped.
Yeah.
Lots of pretty neat games today.
Yeah, lots of pretty neat games. So that kind of wraps up our talk about the indie world. What did you guys think overall? What was your kind of overall impressions of it?
It was a really good one. I was happy with this. There was a lot of games I was interested in. I think I'm going to buy at least 3 or 4 of these titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally pre-ordered Eastward immediately, right? And I have heavily considering getting a couple others, and I know like Metal Slug I'm getting for sure. Tetris I'm probably getting. Like there was just a lot of games that I was like, oh, I've been wanting this on Switch. Right?
Yeah. I thought it was a good one. I liked it better than the one that we had earlier this year.
Agreed.
And the pacing was good. I appreciated that they kind of denoted some of the stuff that was updates, and also, obviously besides like all of the shadow drops, which were really cool, there was a nice like range of release timings. Like there's some stuff that's out right now, stuff that's coming out in the next coming months in winter, and then there's a couple for 2022 as well. It's kind of a nice range.
I mean, indie games throughout the Switch's life cycle have just been really great. Like, have filled out the calendar year round, right? Even in some of the slower years, I can name like a solid chunk of indie games that kept me playing the Switch throughout the year. You know?
Yeah.
And that's clearly no indication of stopping, right?
Yeah. It's a lot.
They're just a perfect fit for, you know, like we you know, there's a common refrain with Switch. X is perfect for Switch, right? People love to say that about almost everything, right? But I do feel like indie games, it's like even more so. You know, it's just like it's this thing of like, man, I love playing these on a handheld, and it's just great to see Nintendo market these games like so fervently and reach out to these developers and make these things happen, because I mean, they really do just make the Switch library so ridiculously great. You know, like I think part of the reason why I love the Switch so much is the indies. Like, to me, it's an undeniable like pillar of the Switch story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's so much great independent content. Whether it's day and date or if it's stuff that's kind of making its way after a while. Like, one of the games today we didn't talk about, but I was pleasantly surprised to see was Gang Beasts making its way. So like I'm personally happy to see stuff that's been available on other platforms for a bit make it over time, on top of the stuff that's, you know, that's newer.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, well, that about wraps up our talk on the Indie World presentation. We want to thank you for listening. And if you like this podcast, you can catch us on pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast: Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Stitcher, Spotify, right? I always forget.
Yeah, all those.
Yeah.
Google Podcasts.
Google Podcasts. Pretty much everywhere you can find podcasts. We're there, you know? So check us out. And YouTube, yes. So that's the Nintendo Pipeline podcast, and we post all these episodes on our blog, nintendoera.wordpress.com.
Yep.
And yeah, we're here pretty much every week. And we just want to thank you for listening. Reach out to us if you have any comments or things you want us to talk about. Just let us know. We'd love to tackle those, and we will see you next week.
Yep. Thank you all so much.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.